In this tutorial I'm going to show how using Carbon Mixer it can take just 10 minutes to develop a strategy for your house design to meet building regulations and also the Code for Sustainable Homes. I'm going to use Carbon Mixer to do a building regulations analysis of a building I'm designing. I've just opened a new project. Normally I would add some buildings from the database, but today we're going to generate a new building, so we'll go into the database, choose new, and there are a number of ways of creating a building. In order to do building regulations analysis, I've either got to use the Carbon Mixer domestic calculator or import values from SAP. I'm going to use the domestic calculator. So I can use this to input details of my building design. It's a fairly simple calculator, so it's quick and easy to input stuff. I'm going to go with most of the default values. I'm assuming my building is 10 metres by 5 metres approximately, 2 stories, so that gives me 100 square metres of living area. By default it's a detached building, but I'm going to change that to a north-south terrace, so that's removed heat losses from the east and the west wall. Glazing, I'm going to leave as double glazing, 20% glazed on the north and south wall. Fabric, fairly standard building regulations values, 0.16 U values for the roof, standard values for the walls and ground floor, doors, average thermal bridging, I'll stay with that. And then lighting, I'm going to improve slightly. I'm going to have 70% low energy lighting as defined by SAP, so this is no particular type of lighting, it's just what SAP defines as low energy. And finally I'm going to say that we've got a well insulated hot water system with a cylinder, so that's reduced our heating load a little. So I'll save this building, call it my building, and I could go back to the site now and look it up in the database and add it, but there's a shortcut here. I can add it directly to the current scenario, which is called base case, or I could add a new scenario. Let's add it to the current scenario. And there we go. Now that we have a building that's got energy demands, results in CO2 emissions. There are the CO2 emissions for this building, and we've got some capital costs for the equipment required by the building. So I'm going to close the editor and go back to the site. I'll now click on the Analysis tab. There are a number of types of analysis. Let's look at the 2006 Building Regulations analysis and see if we meet that. You can only carry out this analysis on certain types of building in Carbon Mixer, so there are a number of checks here. We can see that we passed them all, so we're able to continue and carry out the analysis. It's telling us we don't meet 2006 building regs, and we can see on the right here that our base case, which I'm going to rename, here we go. If I call that DER, which stands for Design Emissions Rate, for the building regulations your design emissions have to be better than the target emissions, and we can see that they're not. The target emissions are defined as being 20% lower than a notional building. So this is a similar building for which building regs define U values, glazing ratios, etc. And you have to find a way of being 20% better than that, and clearly we've not achieved that. So let's go back and review our building. I'm going to go into the editor and see what we can do to improve the building. So let's first of all choose some better glazing out of the database. There's a few available here. I'm going to go for glazing with a U value of 1.4. To have more details of that, if we click on the icon, we can see who the supplier is, what the cost is per square metre, that includes installation cost in this case, what the U value is, and there's a link here that you can go to view the product if you click on that and get a firm quote, etc. If I save now, we should see a reduction in the carbon emissions and probably an increase in costs, I suspect. So 16% there, I'll save, that's dropped to 12%. So that's brought us down a bit, but we still have some way to go. Let's assume that in fitting this better glazing, we'll also improve the draft proofing, the air permeability. So we're going to take that down to a better level of 2.7 air changes per hour. So now let's see about improving the insulation. I'm going to bring that down to about U value of about 0.1. You'll see on the right here how the insulation thickness goes up as we bring the U value down. So 90 millimeters in this case goes up to 330. That's 330 mil or a foot of insulation. It would be a different thickness if we'd chosen something other than mineral wool, but I'm going to stay with mineral wool for now. Bring all of those down and we'll save that, and that's now brought us down below the target. So that's good. We'll save that. So now if we carried out the analysis, we can see that we would pass, but how does that compare if we do an analysis for the recently introduced 2010 building regulations? See if we can pass those. And it's saying that we're not going to pass those because the requirement now is to reduce your emissions by 40% rather than 20% as previously. So we've still got some way to go. One easy way of doing that might be to add some photovoltaic panels and generate some of our own power. So let's try that. I'm going to add 7 meters of photovoltaic panel, and that's just brought us down below the new building regulations. What I can now do is a Code for Sustainable Homes analysis, because the new building regulations are equivalent to the Code for Sustainable Homes Level 3. So we should find that we meet Level 3, yes, we're just inside Level 3, but we don't get to Code Level 4. And you can see it's cost us an extra £6,000 to achieve this level. So let's see if there's a better way of doing it. Well, first of all, let's try deleting the photovoltaic panels, and as an alternative, we'll try a solar hot water system. I'm going to put 3 square meters of panel on the roof and associated equipment. And again, this has taken us just below, but this time it's only cost us £4,000. So let's see if we can get beyond Code Level 3 to Code Level 4 possibly. And maybe we can do that within our budget of the additional £2,000. Can we do it for a total of £6,000? I'm going to review the building again, go into the building editor. So one trick might be to increase the glazing to the south. I'm just going to zoom in on the thermal balance graph because that might give us some clues. By increasing the glazing to the south to 30% and then reducing the glazing to the north by an equivalent amount, so taking it down to 10%, that should give us more benefit from solar gains. So I'm going to apply that, and there we go, we've got a 2% decrease. To get to Code Level 4, we're going to need over 25% further reduction from Code Level 3, so still got some way to go. Looking at the fabric, we've already reduced that quite a long way. We could put a better door on. We'll take the U value of the door to below 1 watt per square meter per degree Kelvin. And we can see from the graph over here that the thermal bridging is now quite significant compared to the other losses. So if we reduce that, we'll need less heating to compensate. So let's change that, see that come down. And we'll also have a further look at the lighting, and rather we'll go beyond the standard calculations offered by SAP, and a typical scenario would be to use quartz halogen downlighters. So we'll have those as the default, but then we'll have state-of-the-art LED lighting as well. So let's choose this system here. Just like with the glazing, if we want more details of the system, we click on the icon and we can see the system type, the manufacturer, various costs and performance values that are used for it. And if we want to know more details, there's a link we can click on there to find out more, to get firm quotes, etc. So let's save that lot and see what that does for our. We've got down to 21%, we need to get more than 25%, so maybe we need to have a cleverer design where we're using more of the LED lighting, and maybe it will get us to code level 4. I've just pushed it up to 90%, we'll save that, and 27% reduction, I think that will be enough, and we're still within our £6,000 budget. So let's run the analysis again. Code Sustainable Homes analysis, and yes, we've made code level 4 now, and within the same budget that we were previously getting to code level 3 in this particular exercise. Typically now we would print out a report, and as ever finally we would save the project so that we can come back and review it in the future, or pass it on to a colleague or a client for them to review and discuss.